Where there are tigers, there are forests. Where there are forests, it rains. Rivers start, lakes fill, and water flows. And water is very important for humans and all species. If the tiger dies, so does the forest and everything it gives. We learned this in school, but we've conveniently forgotten it. I developed cerebral palsy soon after birth, but I went on to live a normal life. What is normal, right? Everybody is abnormal in their own little way. I went to a normal school, played games, and even went on treks and expeditions to the Himalayas. I took full advantage of my cerebral palsy. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll tell you a little funny story here. So when I was in my 10th standard for my board exams, I have a writing disability, right? So my school they gave me a 9th standard student to write my board exams. And she was in the 9th standard, I was in the 10th standard. So I actually convinced her to learn half the portion of every subject. I convinced her and I told her that it'll help her next year. She'll have to study less. And somehow she got convinced, so she learned half the portion. So yeah, so I take full advantage of it, as I said. Like traveling in Bombay, local trains also, the train is like, when you travel in a train in Bombay, in the local trains, there's no place for a fly to get in, right, at peak hours. But I sit in an empty compartment, the handicapped compartment, because I can. But I am also harassed by cops all the time who think I'm drunk, even though I'm not. So most of the time I just drink and tell them that, boss, I'm handicapped, and they let me go. But yeah, so I studied, I finished my 10th, finished my 12th in Bombay. Then I went on to become a sound engineer. I did my sound engineering in Australia. But none of this would have been possible without the hard work and determination and sacrifices of my parents. My mom actually got me to stand on my own 2 feet, literally. And doctors told her I would be a vegetable, and she took it up as a challenge. Like doctors told her I would never walk, I would never talk. So yeah, I am also refused, I have been refused entry into public places like malls or restaurants, because again they think I'm drunk. It's embarrassing and it's annoying sometimes. After doing my sound engineering, I moved back to India and worked in the music industry for 10 years. Out of those 10 years, I ran my own studio for 5 years in Bombay and Worli. Once, in 2007, my uncle actually, he knew I used to go to the Himalayas every year on treks and camps, and he knew that I was interested in nature. So he actually asked me to come along with him on a holiday he was planning to Kanha Tiger Reserve. At that point, I didn't know that there were tiger reserves in India. I didn't know there were forests. The only connect I had with nature was the Himalayas that I used to go to once a year, and Lonavala. But that's hardly nature. You cannot call that the outdoors. It's full of gujus right now. Who want to go and have a bath on the waterfalls with their clothes on. So yeah, so I agreed to go on this holiday with my uncle to Kanha. And I saw a tiger on that trip for literally 5 seconds. And I can still remember it. Like there was grass which was about this tall, and we were on this path. And it was our third safari. So first 2 safaris we didn't see anything, and it was cold, okay? There's another funny story to this trip. So when my uncle told me Kanha, I thought Madhya Pradesh, center of India, Bombay is hot, so I thought even Madhya Pradesh would be hot in winter for some reason. So I went in shorts and t-shirt and everything froze. Like, I had to actually hold my head like this for it to stop shivering just so I could see the deer or the birds. Because otherwise it was completely blur because of my head shaking. But, so anyways, coming back to the tigers sighting. We're coming around this bend and suddenly alarm calls start, okay? Like animals give alarm calls when there's a predator. And then our guide said, "Sir, tiger aa raha hai." And we all looked. And there she was, absolutely stunning. She stuck her head out of the grass, looked at us, and by the time we could even react, she was gone. It was literally, I'm not kidding this, it was literally 5 seconds. But those 5 seconds moved my soul. But it also sparked many questions in my head. Why are these cats endangered? Why are they going extinct? So I came back to Bombay after the holiday, but it was like my heart, my soul and my mind were all left behind with the tiger that I saw for 5 seconds. I literally came back to the studio in Bombay, both heartless and soulless. And I started spending more time online, researching as to why these tigers are endangered, what the scene is, why are they going extinct, what are people doing to help. And I started spending more time online than in my studio doing my job. Like when clients would call me up for bookings in my studio, I would suggest other studios' numbers to them. Tell them, go there, I'm busy. So, like, that's a stupid business decision, right? So within a year, actually, I shut the studio down and I moved to Ranthambore to find answers. To find answers to the questions that have been haunting me since that 5-second tiger sighting. I went to Ranthambore and met a man called Fateh Singh Rathore, who's a legend in tiger conservation. So Fateh introduced me to the Moghyas, a tribe of traditional hunters and gatherers turned tiger poachers. Let me share an interesting story with you. After spending a good amount of time working on the rehabilitation of the Moghyas, I realized that these guys are not much different from you and me. It's just circumstances have led them to do what they do. Like, I'll tell you what happened with these guys. These guys are traditional hunters and gatherers, okay? They've lived inside the forest for generations. And one day, like, the Indian government just came and told them, guys, you can't live here anymore. Your house has been declared a tiger reserve, so we're moving you out. And we'll give you land and a house as compensation. But what the government didn't realize is that these guys are hunters and gatherers. They don't know what to do with land. So when they were given the land, nobody taught them agriculture, nobody taught them how to till the soil. So they did what they know best. They started going back into the jungle illegally, sneaking back in and killing animals. And also the other problem was that the international wildlife trade was actually creating demand for their skills. And so they started living as criminals and poachers, okay? So once when I was in their village and I was chilling with them, we brought out our bottles of booze, right, in the evening. Like, we were just chatting and old stories and stuff. And that's when these guys, it was completely surprised, okay? They brought out these instruments and all, and they started playing. And that's when I realized that these guys, they have their own style. Like every part of Rajasthan has its own style of music and culture and dance. Even these guys had it. And they were singing songs about the importance of forests and wildlife, even though they were killing them. Their songs were about the importance of wildlife and forests and all. And that's when it struck me. Why not record an album with these guys and get city musicians to collaborate with them and produce their music and mix their music, and we could we could sell their songs and their music to raise funds for their own rehabilitation. After a year of planning, I went back to Ranthambore with a friend of mine, with a musician friend of mine, Sid Kuto. We recorded tracks with the Mogyas and all we recorded a few tracks with the Mogyas and also ended up making a documentary film on them, their music and the recording process. We made about 500 copies of the film and the songs, like DVDs. And what I did is I gave those 500 copies to Fateh's NGO called Tiger Watch to sell those DVDs and raise funds for the rehabilitation programs of these poachers. And you won't believe it. Within a month, we raised about 3 lakhs. So yeah, so this is the film. Then this is a small snippet of the film we made. So you can check it out. Can you please play?
एक्चुअली ये बड़े ही एक ट्रेडिशनल हंटिंग कम्युनिटी से बिलोंग करता है, जिसको मोगिया कहते हैं। एमपी में उसके मर्डर के केसेस हैं, टाइगर केसेस हैं, हमने उसको सांबर डियर के साथ पकड़ा है। पोचर कम क्रिमिनल दोनों है।
शिकार पर करने में मेरी रुचि ज़्यादा नहीं थी। रुचि मेरी ज़्यादा किसकी थी? संगीत की। सत्संग करना है, जाना है, ढोलक बजाना है, पेटी बजाना है, इसको सीखना है।
He himself came up with these songs which has some kind of a message for conservation.
जहाँ बाग है वहाँ जंगल है, जहाँ जंगल है वहाँ बरसात होती है, जहाँ बरसात होती है वहाँ पानी बहता है, नदियाँ बहती है, और पानी जो है वो आदमी की जिंदगी के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है।
इस कम्युनिटी में ये बात जाएगी लोगों के बीच कि हमारे म्यूजिक को कोई सुनने को तैयार है, हमारी बातों को कोई समझने को तैयार है। ये बहुत बड़ा फर्क लाएगा।
So after doing this, and after that 5-second magical moment in Kanha, another magical moment happened in my life. I met a girl who shares my passion for wildlife and forests and tigers as I do. My wife, Avantika. She pushed me and made me the conservationist I am today. We now live in Tadoba and run an organization called Prowl. Prowl stands for Preservation of Wild Landscapes. Our main objective is to involve local communities in conservation of forests and wildlife. We also support the forest department in many ways. We conduct training programs for forest guards in first aid, outdoor survival, camera trapping, monitoring movement of tigers and wildlife. We also support the forest department by empowering them with technology and making their life comfortable. Like we donated winter jackets and blankets to forest guards, uniforms to forest guards, camouflage uniforms. We also donated self-purification water bottles. So the thing with that is our forest guards are our first line of defense against poachers, right? And they patrol our forests and they walk like between 8 to 14 kilometers every day in jungles, and they drink water from streams and ponds and all. And lot of times they fall sick because of waterborne diseases. So then they are out. They cannot patrol the forest for a couple of days. So we give them these water bottles with a candle inside, so they can fill water from anywhere and not fall sick. We also donated solar lanterns to forest jockeys. I'll tell you. And we also assist the forest department in conflict situations. How many of y'all are aware of the Avni case, the tigress that was shot? So in 2014, right, we supported the forest department in camera trapping and monitoring and helping identify a tiger who had killed 7 people in a forest near Nagpur. All 7 people were killed 2 to 3 kilometers inside the reserve forest, where they had gone illegally to collect firewood or forest produce. And even some of them had actually even gone in to set snares to catch other animals like rabbits and deer. Out of these 7 people that were killed by this tiger, not even one of them was eaten. They were just killed and left. The forest department wanted to tranquilize this tiger and relocate it. But the local people got agitated and they conducted anti-tiger rallies. Political pressure on the forest department led to shoot-at-sight orders on this tiger being issued, as this tiger was killing the vote bank of the local politician, just like Avni. The problem is that we are chopping down our forests, the tiger's home, either to build highways, railway lines. We even drown them on the dams. We exploit them for mining, and the list goes on. When an incident happens, the tiger is called a man-eater, and he's either tranquilized and sent to a zoo to live the rest of his life in prison, or it is shot down. But the thing is that the tiger reacted the same way that you would. If I came to your house, broke your house down, built my own house over there and started living there, right? Think about it. The really sad thing about the situation is that the tiger always gets killed for being a tiger. I mean, the tiger is an apex predator, right? Nature designed him to kill. How can you kill a tiger for being a tiger? It's like killing an army man for going to the border and shooting the enemies. It's literally like that. India has 50 tiger reserves, okay? We have 50 tiger reserves, not wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, all that is separate. 50 tiger reserves in India. Out of these 50 tiger reserves, 700 of our freshwater sources originate from these 50 forests. So if the tiger goes, these forests go. If these forests go, our fresh water goes. Today countries are fighting over oil and other stuff, right? It won't be very far ahead where we'll be fighting for clean drinking water. Because these forests we're losing a forest every day. Yeah. Well, there's one thing. From a 5-second tiger sighting in 2007 to being 5 feet from a man-eating tiger in 2014, I can tell you a couple of things. One is, the Royal Bengal Tiger really changed my life. And the second one is, we have to learn to coexist if we want to exist. Thank you.